a orientation session for returning and newer student representatives scheduled in advance of the September board meeting in Orono. And Heather will be there, I will be there, and we look forward to speaking with our student representatives about their roles and answering their questions and generating topics of interest to them that we can share at future meetings. Heather, what did I miss?
I don't think you've missed anything. Thank you.
So, Rebecca or Michelle, anything from either of you this morning?
No, not today.
Nothing. Thank you, though.
Well, thank you both for being here.
Well, the next item on the agenda is the faculty rep discussion. And again, Jeff.
So I see Joe Staples is with us from USM. Lisa Leduc is with us from UMPI. I am pleased to report to trustees that at least two of the faculty reps who couldn't be here are on UMS business. One is depositing a child at one of our universities today, and another is in the North Main Woods as part of an RLE experience with a group of students. And a couple others had other commitments that they couldn't miss today as well. So I am seeing Joe and I am seeing Lisa, and I may have missed someone else jumping on the screen, but welcome, Professor Leduc, welcome, Professor Staples, and of course, we're always happy to hear from both of you.
And Colleen is here from Arno as well.
Great. I'll introduce Colleen Marzilli, who steps in for the recently departed Ivan Manev, serving as the University of Maine faculty representative. Welcome, Colleen.
Could we just say he departed his role? He's not.
I was about to say the same thing, Lisa. I was like, that did not come out right.
That did not sound good.
Recently departed from his role. No, I had no thoughts of anyone's demise, but thank you for that.
I do have just something as an informational end request. I'm not sure if this is the right place, but I know that there's a lot of people on these screens that are involved in decision making. So I'm just going to put it out there that I've heard rumors that the system is thinking of changing from Zoom to Teams as our remote support system. And I would say I speak for a lot of faculty that we are very against that. I do serve in some other roles with community entities that use Teams, and it is very clunky, not easy to use. And I have colleagues at other universities that use Teams and struggle with it quite a bit, specifically for classroom use when you're doing a hybrid classroom or a remote classroom. Zoom has served us very well since COVID, is very well integrated with our learning management system. And I do believe, I can't speak for its market share, but I know students are definitely used to it in a lot of different ways. As a matter of fact, even I think it's becoming kind of like Kleenex is used to describe tissue. Zoom is often used to describe any kind of interface on the computer, replacing FaceTime, I would say. So I just want to put in a pitch that I don't think we should change from Zoom. I think Teams would be a mistake. So for what it's worth, thank you.
Thank you. If this is helpful context for the faculty representatives and the student reps on the screen, we've had exactly one conversation with the presidents about a whole host of software and vendor product related items. And one item among that host of items was a note about our platform for this kind of arrangement for meetings of this kind. And that is as far as the conversation has gone, to my knowledge, in any direction. Vice Chancellor Dorsey's on, and she was nodding a moment ago, and that's as far as we've gotten to date. So Lisa, no decisions of any kind about any products, and no decision about that product in any form as yet. Joe, anything from you?
Nope, I have nothing here. Yeah, and I'm sure something will pop up, but not today.
All right, thank you.
I think the only thing the faculty probably have is, I'm referring to them now as the August scaries. Many of you may understand Sunday scaries as kind of a cultural phenomenon of people getting anxious on Sundays, not feeling ready or prepared to go back to work. So I think faculty, maybe this last week before classes start, are experiencing the August scaries.
I want to add to that. I'm calling it the August surprise, and it doesn't always have to do with academia. I wanted to replace the screen door on my porch and discovered the whole thing was rotted. So that took me a whole week to replace that. And I have to get ready for classes. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
Any other comments on faculty?
Joe, when you finish with your screen door, I have one.
Hearing none, let's move to the next agenda item. New academic program proposal, Bachelor of Science in Medical Laboratory Science for Augusta and Pascal, Joe and Elena. I don't know who's going to kick it off.
David, actually, you asked me to kick this one off, I'll be brief about it. So 2 quick points from Trustee McMahon and me. The first is trustees will have noted that we had 6 new proposals come forward at the June ASA and 6 on the agenda today. Those are both unusual numbers, and there's a reason for that. So as you all know, the provosts do an excellent job of helping to shepherd the academic approval process to the campus level, but we do usually end up with an inordinate number of proposals toward the end of the spring semester as faculty are looking to wrap up before they go off contract and finish their business. So typically at June and August ASA, we'll have a few coming through. But we also had all 5 of the pilot 90 credit programs come through at the end of the spring semester as well. So you saw 6 in June, you're seeing 6 today. You'll see comparatively fewer at the October and December ASA meetings for certain. We just wanted to provide that context for the trustees. And on a related point, we did want to note trustees saw some program eliminations and suspensions come through at the July board meeting. Provosts and presidents continue to have those conversations about thoughtful ways to right-size the portfolio. In fact, that topic is on the agenda for the in-person retreat that the provost and I are having in a couple of weeks in Orono. Typically in areas where there's been little or no student enrollment over a period of years, or in areas where faculty have retired or departed, and we really have a program on the books in name only. We are looking to do some good internal housekeeping and clean up those records wherever possible. So that's the context we wanted to share. And I'll just close before we move to Joe and Alana by noting that 3 of the 6 proposals in front of you today are collaboratively delivered programs developed by our provosts and faculty on our campuses, starting with the one you're about to hear from first, Provosts Zakis and Margison. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Okay, good morning, folks, and thank you. So this is a Bachelor's of Science in Medical Laboratory Science. Just to get you kind of as a framework kind of thing, if you think about for those students who have an associate's degree in nursing, we have the RN to BSN. So it's basically the second piece of a baccalaureate degree in a workforce area that where the certificate, the certification for the state is at the associate level. So medical laboratory sciences is the second part of that. And so we are seeing MLS demand in the state and nationally. Basically after COVID and stuff, we see about a 5% growth here. This program, fully online. I will just say that this one builds off for those who, enjoy these collaborative programs at the University of Maine at Augusta and University of Maine at Pascal. We have been working together for perhaps one of the longer collaboratory efforts here with the Medical Laboratory Technology Associate's degree. Split right down the middle. credits are shared across the board. And I'll say this is that because of the trust we have, we could have this next conversation about building on from this sort of thing. So it's taken a while, well over a year to 18 months for us to get where we are right now. But we feel really good about this. Again, fully online with the credits basically split between us. One of the nice things about this, the add-on here, and so things that we will say is that any type of allied health normally has a higher cost associated with it. When you're talking about the medical laboratory sciences one, you don't have that because there's no labs and no cohort sizes and things that basically accentuate the cost components of allied health. So this one actually will help support our MLT, our efforts in the state, and so we're excited about that. And just the last thing before I'll just turn it over to Alana if there's more she would like to add is that we build it towards accreditation. And so the MLT program is accredited with NACLS, and the University of Maine at Presque Isle is kind of the lead person on that piece. On the MLS, we'll be the kind of the lead person for accreditation. We've been working very closely with them. We should be up and running for fall, both accredited and ready to roll by fall 26. And so happy to stop there. So thank you.
And I would just add that it continues that collaboration with the MLT program. So building that 2-year degree, as Provost Akis mentioned, to the 4-year degree. A lot of great work behind the scenes in looking at course design, working together collaboratively, and how those are created and then scaffolded for that rollout in the fall of 26. So again, really grateful and appreciative of that collaboration. And I think it builds on our existing partnership with UMA in this regard.
Questions from the trustees on the committee? Roger. You're on mute, Roger. We can't hear you.
I'm not showing as muted.
You're on. You're okay now.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. It mentioned that there's only one other program like this in the state and it just closed. I'm curious as to what that circumstance was.
So I believe the one that closed was up at the University of Maine, and that was the whole 9 yards, right? The baccalaureate from STEM to STERN kind of thing. This one is just the second piece, if you will, right? Taking those who have a credential in MLT are the ones that are being moved forward in that regard. So.
Thanks. And the other question was, I noticed, and I think you mentioned it, that this does not require a clinical practicum. And it just seemed as a layperson that this would be a very hands-on kind of a program. And it didn't seem to mesh there. Why is it that there's no practicum as part of this?
So there are different models and opportunities. The one we are basing this on is the one that is out in Arkansas, actually, and it's a very successful program. This is how accreditation also works in this sort of thing, is that it because the MLT certification, that all that required the lab and the practicums and things like that. So it's kind of front loaded in that regard. And so they've all had that experience in order to get the MLT certification. But what you're going to get is now the more broader baccalaureate efforts, deeper things in science, if you will, more statistics and those sort of things.
Okay, so these folks, they will have had some practicum experience.
Oh, absolutely. They're all qualified to draw blood and do those analyses at the for the MLT. Now we're just giving them a broader education for the next stage in that career path.
Great, thanks very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks. Roger asked a couple of my questions. I was just kind of confused about the timing. It says in the narrative that all courses have yet to be developed, but the budget shows operational in 25-26, but it won't be accredited till 27-28. And I assume that's, at least in the budget showed that, but I assume that's a condition of hire. And then I was concerned, it said you're using current faculty, but the budget says adjuncts. Now maybe all the currents are adjuncts, but I just wanted to confirm that. So timing and new faculty.
Yeah, the timing, often that accrediting bodies require will be in conditional accreditation, and then once the first cohort passes through, and then we get formal. So it's very common for almost all external accreditations in that regard. We have been building the faculty up in terms of supporting the MLT and MLS, so we feel real strong, and we do have a fair adjunct cohort in support as well.
But they're all current faculty, they're all current.
They're all current, yeah.
I would add, with all our faculty have been developing, we did hire a new part-time faculty member to help with the development and sort of push that through. I think it's also similar to the RN to BSN in that MLT degree, you know, that is required to then build on with the MLS.
Thanks.
Barbara?
My question is related to one that Chair Emily Trish just raised, and it says on the top of page 25, all of the MLS courses need to be developed for this program. So this long list of courses are not yet developed according to this document. And I don't understand how the courses could be offered this year with that situation.
So two things. One is not going to be offered this year. It'll be offered fall 26.
Okay, all right.
So number
Then-
one. Number two is that we have been doing a lot of program development. The program proposal is I want to say an April or May document. While that time, we have not been sitting on our hands in this regard. So the courses are, if they're not in the books, they're getting into the books and things like that. So we feel very confident that we'll hit the fall 26 running.
Okay, that was my confusion as to when you were going to actually offer the program. I do have one more question. When you offer something like this, which is theoretical, analytical, teaching people how to evaluate, as you say, scientific literature, studies, and so forth, and you do it all by Zoom or virtual, you are opening the door to all of these students clicking on their AI mode of choice and having all that work done for them. And I'm just wondering how in this kind of environment, and this goes beyond this program, so if you don't have an answer, I understand, but this is a classic case where critical thinking skills is what you're trying to teach, and you're not having the ability to interact in person with people to determine if they've actually exercised any of their own critical thinking skills. And how have you given some thought about this, especially where you're not doing any in-person activities with this particular program? Thank you.
It's a great question, and if you allow me, it's the hot potato. I think that all of us have been thinking about in terms of the impact on AI on everything online. And so I will say this is that so two things. One is that the MLT student has to be a certified MLT clinician, right?
Yes.
So that piece had to be done in person and whatever, and we've seen that skill set. So the certification tells us a certain piece of the story. The fear or the concern, it's a fair concern, and I think it applies to every distance modality, right? Every distance program. It's not just this program in general. But I'll say this is that what we're working on is to pedagogically help the faculty try to augment AI into their curriculum thing. And so, yes, you can do these things, but there's also ways of kind of asking for more reflection and, and that sort of thing. So that is one that I think all of us are working on to create some policies and some support for so I think all of us across the University of Maine system are getting our instructional designers who are helping with online to kind of give them the, if you will, the tools and support for that. But I've seen everything from trying to re-envision what proctoring means in that regard. A lot of talk about blue books, but that's not our direction that we're going. But more about trying to adjust here. So what we have here in this proposal is, I think is going to be in line with the adjustments that every academic program needs to address the AI issue. Thank you.
I totally understand your response, and I didn't expect a specific issue for this program, but can I at least make the suggestion that you build in some mandatory in-person interaction with these kinds of programs at some point in the program to engage the faculty with the student who is not at their computer giving rote answers or writing papers that they haven't in fact written. And I don't know how UMPI's going to solve that problem with their international and national students, but here we have pretty much people going to school in Maine. And I'm just suggesting you might want to think about some option to add to a program like this. Thank you.
I would also add, I think, yes, this is a point well taken. And as Provost Akis mentioned, I think in any online modality, we are looking at how to work with AI and also to think about where we double down on those critical thinking skills. You know, how do we seek evidence of students really synthesizing their learning and applying it? I think two specific ideas and talking with the faculty developing around this would be using, we have Kaltura, which is a video-based product and that's offered to all University of Maine system students. So having students sometimes do demonstrations or think alouds, like they have to be on the screen if they're not there physically, talking about how they have, you know, how they're making specific references back to the content, but then how they're connecting it to other learning and then applying it to their life or work setting, which I think really is helpful because they have that MLT degree. So they have some professional or previous knowledge and experience that they can connect the new learning to. And I think that's where we're moving, is having students and learners demonstrate in a more project-based way that's really about pulling together information and then how do you apply it, not just the what, but the so what. And absolutely totally agree with that point about AI and how we are working with it.
Thank you. Any other questions from trustees? Seeing none, I will read the text of the proposed resolution. That the Academic and Student Affairs Committee forwards this item to the September 14th, 15th, 25 Board of Trustees meeting for approval of the following resolution. That the Board of Trustees accepts the recommendation of the Academic and Student Affairs Committee and approves the Bachelor of Science in Medical Laboratory Science at the University of Maine, Augusta and the University of Maine at Presque Isle. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? If not, would the clerk please take the roll?
Trustee McMahon?
Yes.
Trustee Alexander?
Yes.
Trustee Cates?
Yes.
Trustee Riley?
Yes.
Trustee Kane?
Yes.
Trustee Martin?
Yes.
Trustee Worth?
Yes.
Trustee Loring?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the new academic program proposal. Master of Science in Homeland Security, University of Maine, Fort Kent. President Adine.
Good morning, everyone. UMFK is proposing an online Master of Science degree in Homeland Security. The online MS in Homeland Security will complement UMFK's existing 2-year and 4-year degree options in criminal justice and conservation law. This will prepare students for positions in fields such as law enforcement, public safety, and emergency management. UMFK is offering this degree program in response to the increasing statewide and national demand for professionals with a thorough knowledge of Homeland Security. UMFK currently has experienced faculty in criminal justice and Homeland Security, and we will not require we will not need to require the hiring of new faculty for this degree. We also have an excellent relationship with state, federal, and regional law enforcement agencies and regularly provide highly qualified candidates to teach adjunct courses. There are 10 courses in this 30-credit degree master's program, of which 3 courses are taught by the University of Maine at Augusta faculty in their emergency management and cybersecurity graduate programs. That is our proposal. Thank you.
Questions from the trustees on the committee? Barbara.
Thank you. I really dislike the title of this master's. I think it has resonated in recent times to mean something other than what you intend it to mean. You might want to think about a change in the title. But going beyond that PR related matter, I noticed that part of your proposal stated that you're declining enrollment in a lot of your criminal justice courses. Can you discuss why, in light of that, this is something you think would be gather necessary enrollment to justify the development of the courses and so forth?
Thank you. That's a good question. So just recently, we had approval to change our undergraduate degree from Rural Public Safety Administration to Criminal Justice. And we were having issues with declining enrollment in that program, and we suspect it was connected to the name of the degree. We most recently have changed that title. We would anticipate and hope that we would then be able to grow the program in criminal justice because of the name change. So we need a little bit more time to see if that plays out in that way. We also we also had some transitions in faculty in our undergraduate degrees, and now we have a very steady faculty group, and we anticipate growth in both the undergrad and that master's program because of the faculty.
Other questions for President Lee? Seeing none, I will read the text of the proposed motion. That the Academic and Student Affairs Committee forwards this item to the September 14th, 15th Board of Trustees meeting for approval of the following resolution. That the Board of Trustees accepts the recommendation of the Academic and Student Affairs Committee and approves the Master of Science in Homeland Security at the University of Maine at Fort Kent. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Seeing no questions, the clerk will please take the roll.
Trustee McMahon,
Yes.
trustee Alexander,
Reluctantly, yes.
trustee Cates,
Yes.
trustee Riley,
Yes.
trustee Kane,
Yes.
trustee Martin,
Yes.
trustee Worth,
Yes.
trustee Loring.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is a new academic proposal, Associate of Arts in Human Services at the University of Maine Pascal. Provost Martin.
Thank you. This proposal is a collaborative effort with UMFK. Leaders of both programs have worked to identify what current courses we both offer could be brought together to offer the two-year degree pathway. We think that because it is in your pace and with competency-based education, thinking about the need for workforce needs for healthcare professionals, the ability to apply previous work experience and previous experience in higher education, that this will create a two-year degree that can also then move into a four-year degree and beyond. We, working together, have identified how both the just about equal. I think we are maybe one course difference in who is offering a course, but it's virtually equal in the courses and how that revenue will be shared. And again, really appreciative of the collaborative efforts between the leaders of these programs in creating this option in your pace.
Questions of Provost Martin on this code? Can you tell us how you determine the number of students in your projections, the sort of market research that you've done for that?
Yeah, absolutely. So for all of the programs, when we're looking at Your Pace specifically, although not only, we're looking at some other trends. For example, do we have other 2-year programs or 4-year programs in Your Pace, and what have those enrollment trends looked like? We also look overall at when a new program is rolling out in Your Pace, what have we seen traditionally in terms of those enrollments? We also, for some programs, which I'll talk about a little bit later, we might think if they're a graduate program, what has some of the outreach and what information do we have about student interest in sort of building that next sort of step in the pathway. So I think using also, we have AI tools that are now helping us do market analysis. But for programs, I think we look at what currently exists for trends overall in CBE in fields that are either the 2-year to 4-year pathway or adjacent fields, and also taking a look at things like previous credits, what's the average number of credits that students transfer in, depending on the total number of credits, how many sessions do we think that they'll be in Your Pace? So both for the projected enrollment and also, side note, for the pro forma worksheets, we work with our institutional researcher to determine what are some reasonable projections for both enrollment and revenue.
Do you have any historical data that shows how your projections compare with actuals?
For this particular program, because it's new, we don't. We can
Correct.
compare
On
somewhat.
other programs that you projected.
Yeah, so we can look at psychology, our 4-year psychology degree when it was put into Your Pace, although that had been previously established in other modalities. But that was one that we took a look at for kind of looking at what would be a reasonable projection.
And did the projections pan out going forward?
Well, they've been supported by, I think, the AI tools and those reports. So I think they're reasonable in terms of what we see as the enrollments on this or in this report. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Other questions? If not, I'll read the text of the proposed resolution that the Academic and Student Affairs Committee forwards this item to the September 14-15 Board of Trustees meeting for approval of the following resolution. That the Board of Trustees accepts the recommendation of the Academic and Student Affairs Committee and approves the Associate of Arts in Human Services at the University of Maine at Presque Isle. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Move the second.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? If not, will the clerk please take the roll?
Trustee McMahon?
Yes.
Trustee Alexander?
Yes.
Trustee Cates?
Yes.
Trustee Riley?
Yes.
Trustee Kane?
Yes.
Trustee Martin?
Yes.
Trustee Worth?
Yes.
Trustee Loring?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is new academic program proposal, Associate of Arts in Early Childhood Education, University of Maine, Presque Isle. Provost Murchison.
Thank you. So this proposal is that 2-year degree option that will again build a pathway with the 4-year education degree. We think it's very important for meeting, again, workforce needs, particularly as we have heard from those in the early childhood education field or those working in early childhood centers who might have options for their career pathways if they had a 2-year degree. Also, sometimes applying for grants, that 2-year degree is very important. So with this being offered in Your Pace, we think that it will give an opportunity for some with previous experience to apply that and to gain this credential, to also build a pathway to a 4-year degree to help meet the needs of Maine and beyond, particularly in that early childhood and thinking about our daycare centers and childcare centers. We also feel that it's important that this is in Your Pace so that it is not directly competitive. Working closely with our community colleges, we wanted to have this be in a modality that is distinguished as well.
Thank you. Questions from the trustees? Trish?
I'm just curious, I don't know much about early childhood, but are there credentialing requirements? School teachers need student teaching. Are there in childcare requirements for actual service in a school, and how does that work with your pace?
So for the 2-year degree and thinking about your pace, some of the options that working with community partners like Rustic Mental Health Center, they've talked about those working in the field need to have, I believe it's 30 hours every year for their credentialing to work in centers. So we think that this will definitely help in that area. And then thinking about the certification aspect, this degree could move into that 4-year option, which would become the certification track for those who want to work in PK-12.
No problem.
Thank you. You said something that I want to follow up on with regard to not competing. I'm thinking of Farmington, who has an extensive program with respect to early childhood education and should, appropriately could be our leadership institution on these kinds of programs. And I didn't see any interaction with them on this and wondered how you would respond to that concern, I guess is the way to put it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the aspects that we think is important to highlight is that all of the courses for this 2-year degree already existed in your pace. So it was a kind of a pulling together for that degree that all of those courses existed, but the specific degree did not exist specifically. We have put this through CAOC and had, I think, really good conversations because in the area of education, I think we have some across the system, some areas of overlap, but also distinction and expertise. And I think for this in particular, for this degree, I think that distinction in CBE is really important because that's, different than any other modality that these courses are offered at any institution. But yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear a response to my concern.
Yeah.
How are you going to prevent this from cannibalizing current programs that we want to support at Farmington? I think that's...
Yes, and I think this could also feed into Farmington's 4-year programs as well and graduate programs.
Well, we have a proposal for a 4-year program coming up next. I'm going to have the same concern.
Barbara, if helpful, we continue to track sources of enrollment in programs in CBE after they are approved. We continue to see the preponderance of enrollment in CBE come from outside of the New England region, outside of Maine, predominantly in the last 2 years, and President Rice and Provost Margison can add to this, from the South, from the West here in the United States, and from numerous countries overseas. But we have not so far seen significant cannibalizing of existing programs at other UMS universities as a function of growth of CBE. We occasionally get anecdotal reports of such. We go back and track pre and post on enrollment and enrollment over time. We have not found examples of your pace programs chewing up enrollment from other programs, a point that has become even more sensitive as we look to expand to Farmington and to Fort Kent in competency-based education. But I see President Rice has his hand up, and I'll turn to him.
Ray, go ahead.
Well, I would just make 2 points in addition to what the Vice Chancellor just said. But one, President McDonnell and I have had multiple conversations over the last year. For instance, they have established programs that are now going to be offered in the Your Pace programming. Farmington has an extensive plan to offer additional programming in competency-based education where they feel confident both in their own resources to do so and in potential market for it. So I think that is a partnership that has emerged, frankly, since after the discussions among CAOC occurred with this program, which did include discussions with provosts from other institutions. And at that point, there was not an interest in competency education for this program. My second point would be I would not allow a traditional on-ground program at this institution in Aroostook County to be brought to the ASA or to the board for approval. I would not even recommend a program in traditional semester-based online learning for a program such as this, nor the next program that is up the 4-year version. I would only approve these in competency education and in a format that meets both state need and national need, because all of the research shows, one, competency education is the fastest growing modality of education that professionals that this addresses are explicitly looking for. All the research that we're able to do right now shows this is a modality in which the growth is occurring. It's not occurring, particularly in the Northeast or the state of Maine, in either face-to-face programming or even traditional online learning. So that's a huge differentiator, which is a large competitive factor for this institution and the system, particularly as Farmington does more collaboration with us in these programs. But it also addresses a very specific need of these professionals because they are working 40 hours a week during the day, and they're working in formats which are not conducive to a conventional academic format or a conventional academic calendar. And that's why what the Vice Chancellor just noted before, he's absolutely right. That's why we're seeing such a strong response, because these individuals, in the vast majority, from what we can tell, would not be and had not been enrolling in the programs, in the traditional programs that this system has been offering for decades. So the market has shifted, the interest of the consumers have shifted. These are programs that are following those shift in the demographics and the interest.
Joe?
We're working very closely with OMPI on various programs. But I just want to take a step back on early childhood specifically. And as you point out, this is a area where we have considerable strength in Farmington. But when you look at how we are offering programs, we have a residential program here. We have an off-site program. We have an apprenticeship program. We have a graduate program. There's the need for a CBE program, and there's the need for just an online program. So those are 6 different modalities that require faculty and leadership and assurance that we are not only moving students through this, but we're actually getting professionals who will stay in the profession, which is one of the huge challenges in education, and that people flip through this and they're not prepared enough. So look, I think this requires a system-wide look at what we are doing, because when you're going in 6 different directions, no one university has that capacity, but as a system, we do have that capacity. We're just not looking at it in a system-wide perspective, frankly, because all of these small universities, Farmington included, are trying to put up programs to stay alive as a university. I think we need to step back and look at it in a systematic, system-wide way. Thank you.
I think I heard that these programs were developed without the current situation at Farmington showing more interest in, collaborating in, helping to develop, provide faculty that would help these kinds of programs. Would it be possible for this and the next item on the agenda to be pulled back and have a proposal that reflects integration with, collaboration with, knowledge of, and presentation of other programs, how this complements all of that, which I'm not opposed to doing. But I just feel like the material we have here doesn't allow me to say that level of analysis has been done and integration with what else is being offered. So it would just be a delay in presenting this to us with a bit more background and integration and discussion. That would be my recommendation.
Yeah, do you have any comments?
I would only respond by saying that there is continuous, constant analysis of just the kind described by President McDonald and Trustee Alexander at the level of the provost for certain at each of our Chief Academic Officers Council meetings and in the development of each academic program, understanding that circumstances and level of interest in different kinds of programs changes over time. I would not want anyone here to have the impression that there isn't a rigorous analysis from the very beginning of every program that comes forward for consideration by this group. I would also note that there has been effectively a standing offer for a period of several years for other universities to express interest and move forward in discussions with President Rice about competency-based education. And it's been only relatively recently that those discussions have begun. So I would have concerns about delaying the progress of two well-developed, thoroughly discussed, well-considered, well-supported programs today as a function of concerns expressed today about bringing these programs to fruition.
Jeff, just for the benefit of the trustees on the committee, can you tell people why CBE has to go through UMPI?
CBE has been approved for general delivery within our system only at the University of Maine at Presque Isle. So the proposed expansion of CBE to currently 2 other universities requires what's called a substantive change request with NECHI. We've put that request forward and expect an outcome of that request following the Commission's September meeting. So it's at the same time that the Commission essentially ratified our unified accreditation following a visit to our system in October of 2022. They also, in the same letter ratifying that unified accreditation, issued to President Rice and UMPI general approval so that he wouldn't have to write a new individual request every time he wanted to add a program to the competency-based portfolio. So right now we have one university that is administratively authorized to deliver CBE on behalf of our system. But even to add programs and courses from other universities, we do require authorization from NECHI to make that happen.
Emily.
Thank you. I want to go back to President McDonald because I do not understand what your comment was saying. Like I heard what you said. I heard you lay out all the different ways we're doing early childhood, but I did not. I don't understand what your comment was about. Like other than to sort of say we do this in a lot of different ways. Was there another piece to it? Because are you saying you don't think we should do this? Because I mean, obviously this has been through all the same things that other academic programs go through. It's, you know, it's not awesome when it gets to the final stage and we sort of, you know, it's our job to ask questions, which I'm all about. But I am not clear about what your comments were pushing us to or not.
I'm not opposed to this proposal from UMPI for the CBE program. I'm not. I am only saying that Farmington does have a lot of strength in early childhood. And we have a lot of faculty, full-time faculty, offering quality programs there. It makes sense for Farmington to take the lead. But at the same time, I'm saying that we are already stretched in a lot of different ways with a residential program, a graduate program, an off-site program, an apprenticeship program. And so when you think about offering quality programs system-wide, we're stretched, and I think most other universities are stretched and, reaching to adjunct faculty. And I guess there's a question of the quality of the programs when you're, so stretched. So I am saying, we need a system-wide view of how we offer all of these programs. But so I'm not opposing, but I am saying that while we have the strength, we don't have the bandwidth right now.
That is exceptionally helpful. Thank you, President. Thank you for the clarification.
You go, Jay. We can't hear you, Rod.
Can you hear me? Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. So I appreciate you saying why these things, and I know we've got a.
We can't hear you, Rod. Can you turn your volume up?
Sorry?
We can't hear you.
Sorry, can you hear me? My audio was on.
Very
Your
faint.
microphone is muffled, is what is happening.
I'm sorry. It wasn't that important. I'll defer. I'm all set.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Was he unable to communicate there? Roger, I think you have the microphone turned on for two different devices, and that is often the source of the problem there. But beyond that,
my phone.
The point I want to make is not, I think it's similar to what I'm hearing from President McDonald, and that is, this is not a basis for opposing the development of an online program, and this one and the next one. It's more a matter of having the presentation to the board as part of the vote that we're giving you, that acknowledges the role of Farmington, discusses the value of having this as an incremental adjunct to those programs, and the fact that the CBE programs are not intended and typically do not conflict with the more traditional programs offered at Farmington. If we had that kind of information in front of us, or you're comfortable making it, we're about to get a dynamite blast on a hill next to my house. Sorry if you hear banging. But that's what I'm asking for, a delay in the presentation of this, so that we have this discussion reflected in the materials that we're voting on. And I don't understand why one board meeting's delay in doing this would be so dramatically a problem. So I'm asking if there would be some agreement to have more written recognition of this issue and description of coordination with the clear leadership role Farmington has on these kinds of programs. Thank you.
Hey.
Well, with all due respect, I'm just going to be on the record of being strongly opposed to such a request, especially at the 11th and a half hour, especially when all of this information has been vetted for months. No such requests have ever been asked of another institution or another provost or another program prior to a situation such as this. And most importantly, we are looking at a competitive marketplace. A delay may be months, it may be multiple months, it may be years. These have been programs been planned, and they were planned to come through this body months ago. They were delayed because of other plans, other programs that were brought forward. And now you're looking at delaying our progress yet further. When we are constantly being exhorted to increase enrollments, any delay on any program is something that I just do not support as a president of this University Maine system.
Chris?
I think we need to take a breath. This is the only time the ASA committee sees these documents. So it is important that we recognize that's our role, is to ask these questions and to raise these broader concerns. I appreciate though the timing, and there was not clearly the things that emerged with Farmington doing CBE were late in the process of developing this. So I think I would be comfortable proceeding with this, but I would ask that in the future, we really begin to think about Farmington's role in education, how we beef that up, how we strengthen it, and how we collaborate within that knowledge and build on that strength for future proposals.
I agree and would add that in conversations with Provost Quackenbush and Yardley, we actually have an outline of how we can do just that. So thinking about, a future focused program proposal to put something maybe like early childhood special education, how do we build on what is offered, but how do we work together and really leverage the expertise at our institutions? So I think that is a point well taken, and it's actually something that we're currently in conversation about, is to do just that. Now that we have, I think we're at the point of this collaboration, our work together, our brainstorming, and thinking about how to complement each other and also to work together in this space. So yes, I just wanted to acknowledge that.
Kathy?
Just want to support the point that Alana just made, that we are, with all of the CB work that we're doing, we're trying to see how it can integrate with other existing programs. For example, if we're developing a minor or certificate, how might that complement a major that's being developed at UMPI? And we have been talking recently about a potential new master's, again, where we might have a concentration in there. We do have a great deal of expertise in early childhood at Farmington, and would be happy to also collaborate and see how we might support one another with your new venture. But we are constantly having conversations in terms of how to best work together and maximize the resources and expertise each institution has.
Thank you. Kelly?
Thank you. I just wanted to reiterate, I think what President McDonald said is that, as a system, we expect our campuses to be entrepreneurial, and then we expect them to share. And this challenge has been here since I've been a trustee. And so I get it, but I also want to respect the process. The process has been very thorough. We have very, very intelligent people sitting at the table here that have done the work. And, I'd like to see this go up for a vote personally. I don't think that delaying a meeting is going to do anything. And, we can sit here and have a conversation about the challenges that have been present since the system has been around. I don't know if we're ever going to have a complete solution to that. But in respect to it, opening the conversations of how we want to work together as a system while making all of our campuses entrepreneurial and not stealing thunder, working together. It's always been a challenge. It will always be a challenge, especially in these economic times. But I think at the moment right now, we should move forward with a vote on this. I don't think holding it back is going to do anything. And I'm thankful for all the people that put the work into this, the much needed program. So.
Roger.
Thank you. Can you hear me now? I'm on my phone.
Yes, we can.
Okay, good. Thank you. I'm prepared to go ahead and vote on this today, but President McDonald's comment that we need to take a more system-wide view of this. I mean, that's true with this program, but it's true of so many others as well. And so I'd welcome, not today necessarily, but his thoughts as well as other thoughts of other presidents about how we can do a better job about that, of taking a system-wide approach to some of these very good questions which have been asked today. And I know we'll have an opportunity to do that at future meetings and perhaps at the retreat that's for October, and look forward to those discussions. Thanks.
Jeff, do you want the last word on this?
I do. I want to thank all the trustees for their comments, beginning with Trustee Alexander and the chair, Trustee Martin and Trustee Cates. And to note, and when I start to say this, Joe Zakis is probably going to log off. He's tired of hearing it, but we do discuss, in particular at the level of the provost group, nursing and education at almost every meeting. They are the backbone of our system. They're the backbone of collaboration across our system. They're important in some way to each of our institutions. They are a continuous focus. I think what several of the trustees' comments have gotten at is the need both for perspective and adaptability, and we are trying to achieve both of those things all the time. Where are we? And how can we move quickly and effectively to get where we need to be based on, as Trustee Martin said, the economic times we're in, changing market circumstances, changing demographics, changing everything. But those discussions, particularly around those two areas, are nonstop at the level of the provosts.
Okay.
Just one more comment. I will be voting no on this and the next one, and we will talk about this at the board meeting. But I do think my point is not being fully understood. This is a lack of any recognition in this proposal and the material that we have here of the role of Farmington in this particular area, which is well known. And while there may have been many discussions and good faith discussions, and I'm not suggesting otherwise, the material I'm looking at here in writing does not reflect that integration, concern, collaboration, or whatever. So that's my concern, and that's the only reason I suggested we wait one more meeting to get a document in front of us that reflects what you say has been going on and will continue to go on. So that's my proposal. This is the first I've seen this. There may have been a lot going on in the background, but as a member of the Board of Trustees, I have to deal with what's in front of me, and that's what I'm reacting to. Thank you very much.
Well, Mr. Chairman, if I could, I think it's incumbent on, this has been a robust discussion, and I think Trustee Alexander's concerns can be addressed in robust minutes of this meeting so that we do have a record of the discussion.
Other comments? If not, I will read the text of the proposed resolution. The Academic and Student Affairs Committee forwards this item to the September 14th, 15th, 2025 Board of Trustees meeting for approval of the following resolution. That the Board of Trustees accepts the recommendation of the Academic and Student Affairs Committee and approves the Associate of Arts in Early Childhood Education at the University of Maine at Presque Isle. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Moved and second.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Would the clerk please take the roll?
Trustee McMahon,
Yes.
Trustee Alexander,
No.
Trustee Cates,
Yes.
Trustee Riley,
Yes.
Trustee Kane,
Yes.
Trustee Martin,
Yes.
Trustee Worth,
Yes.
Trustee Loring,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you. And the next item on the agenda is new academic program proposal, Bachelor of Science in Early Childhood Education, University of Maine, Presque Isle. Provost Murchison.
Thank you. This is a four-year degree option that builds together courses that we currently offer in modalities, specifically thinking about our in-person and online asynchronous modalities, working for about 2.5 years closely with our colleagues at Northern Maine Community College. What we discovered is that we did not have a true 2+2 pathway. So students coming to us with a 2-year degree were spending closer to 3 years to complete their early childhood education degree. Part of that was because of the education program design, which included courses for a general K-6 span of certification versus the honing in on that early childhood, really PK3 grade spans. And so taking out some of those other requirements for the upper levels of elementary education certification, we created this proposal looking at the true 2+2 option for students to bring in from a community college that associate's degree and to complete their 4-year degree, their BS in early childhood education, and to receive that the certifications in both birth to age 5 and PK to 3 teaching. We have had also robust conversations over the past, I would say, year plus, specifically with UMaine Farmington about this, everything from the title of the program to thinking about how this is something that is obviously the area of UMaine Farmington's expertise. And then after those conversations, really focusing in on that this is going to allow for that 2+2 pathway, and that these are all courses that currently exist. Again, it's the pulling them together in this degree that focuses on those early childhood education certifications.
Thank you. Do you also want to stress that there are 2 pro forma projections on that?
Sure. So in thinking about the fact that for this particular program, most of the courses, as I said, exist for this to be offered in any modality. We do have, at the time of this pro forma, there were 2 courses that still needed to be developed to complete this, and one of those being student teaching. That will actually be 2 separate 8-week pathways in CBE, for example. So here we see, looking at our current education 4-year projections, also thinking about what our AA and early childhood education degree looked at, but thinking about these courses and the development and the expenses of adjunct faculty teaching the courses. And that's how we came up with the projections for years 1, 2, and 3.
Roger? You're on mute.
Yeah, thank you. Question about this. This one's a little bit different than the other one. And as I understand it, this is going to be offered both through competency-based education and also through the university itself. And again, I don't want to put him on the spot, but I would like to hear President McDonald's perspective on this, particularly as it relates to the on-campus delivery of this at one of our other universities.
Well, look, this gets to the heart of some of the problems that the system has, in that we have universities in different parts of the state trying to serve the locality. And so insofar as UMPI is serving its locality of its students coming out of community college, it makes perfect sense to have this program. But it is a situation that we are both competitors and collaborators in this system, and how to deal with that is a challenge. I think the bigger challenge is online, because we will have competing programs when Farmington puts, not CBE. I think CBE is being organized in a way that makes sense for the system, because if we're collaborating on CBE, we're collaborating in one program. But as universities put programs up online, and we have a number of universities with the same program competing with each other, it doesn't, I mean, it's probably not the best use of our resource to do it that way. So I think the CBE model makes sense, but when you go online generally and you have a Farmington program online, an UMPI program online, and this program online and that program online, all competing with each other, strikes me that it's not making the best use of our resources as a system. But that goes to the heart of how we have been organized here, and especially at small universities where we're been putting up programs to try to get students and revenue. So I don't know if that helps or muddies the situation, but I think that's the situation that we are in.
Roger, you have your hand up still. Other questions or comments? Emily?
Thank you, President McDonald. The question is, like, I guess, are there other presidents who want to weigh in on this, on that question? Right, because Joe offered one perspective. I think there's a lot to take in here.
Ray, you're done. I'll get you in a minute to asking for President's comment. Ray?
I would just note, I absolutely agree with President McDonald, and I think he both muddies it and clarifies the situation. I mean, he's not wrong. One of the reasons why competency education is a differentiator, meeting a different marketplace, is because it's outside of the lane of those other programmings that have had to develop over time to meet the geographic need of very specific locations in a underpopulated but very large state. And that's the reality that these institutions have existed in. And that's why you're seeing a program that has live teaching for place-bound educators that aren't going to leave Aroostook County and certainly can't enroll in other people's programs that would require anything but a face-to-face situation in regards to geography. But the growth for that program clearly is going to be in the competency education outside of the geographic area. So you're looking at a great example of the legacy of these institutions for decades, meeting the reality of the marketplace today that President McDonald underlined so succinctly.
Donald?
Yeah, I'm just going to say that it was my understanding, I could be wrong, that these new programs and every program we would bring on would not be competitive, that they would go through the provost and they have a discussion. And if it was being done in other campuses, that it wouldn't go through. So what the hell's going on here? Why are we having, competitive programs when we weren't supposed to in the first place?
Somebody want to respond to that? Jeff, maybe?
No response for now, but thank you.
Other comments, questions? Seeing none, I will read the motion that the Academic and Student Affairs Committee forward this item to the September 14th.
Actually, David, can I just can I say one thing? Because I think Donna raised a good question that I think is worth, I think there should be some comment on. I mean, I appreciate Donna's point. I think, to me, what we're seeing here today is that there actually has been a lot of collaboration, a lot of communication. What we're trying to unearth here is making sure we have eyes on it as well once it gets here. I think, building on the last conversation, that there's a matter of where it's documented, how it's understood. But I think we are ever increasing the communication, the collaboration, and that there is, no matter what we do, there's always going to be some competition, because some individual student, we don't know what informs their decision to choose Presque Isle versus USM versus Farmington. It could be family, it could be health, it could be they really had a good experience on a great day and the other day was rainy on the other campus when they went. You know, I had that experience when I was a student. So I think we're never going to eliminate it completely. I think what we're trying to do is making sure we're always taking a look from both the campus level, the student level, the academic level, and the system level. To me, I feel like that has been done here. But I also appreciate the comment, and certainly it's a reminder that we always need to be asking those questions.
Barbara?
I'm perfectly acceptable of the notion that we might have duplication and that there would be good reasons for doing that. My problem, and I'm responding to other trustees who have been impressed with the verbal description of what kinds of conversations have happened. My problem is the lack of any documentation or the recognition of Farmington's programs, and any indication of how this actually is a good integration and is a proposal that has the endorsement in a way that responds in a positive way to the situation at Farmington and the market situation that UMPI is presenting here. So I'm open to the notion of duplication and competition, but the lack of any documentation is my problem with the proposal here, as in the previous one. Thank you.
Other comments from the trustee? I was not intending to cut off discussion, but there was a silence, which is why I started to read the motion. I will reread the text of the proposed resolution, that the Academic and Student Affairs Committee forwards this item to the September 14th, 15th Board of Trustees meeting for approval of the following resolution. That the Board of Trustees accepts the recommendation of the Academic and Student Affairs Committee and approves the Bachelor of Science in Early Childhood Education at the University of Maine at Presque Isle. May I have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Seeing no raised hands, the clerk, please take the roll.
Trustee McMahon,
Yes.
trustee Alexander,
No.
trustee Cates,
Yes.
trustee Riley.
Yes.
Trustee Kane,
Yes.
trustee Martin,
Yes.
trustee Worth,
Yes.
trustee Loring.
No.
The motion carries.
Thank you. So the next item on the agenda is a new academic program proposal, Master of Arts in American Studies at University of Maine, Presque Isle. Provost Martinson.
Thank you. This is a graduate degree that is proposed. We think that it's important for building on our history degree that we offer in your PACE. It also allows for any institution who has that four-year degree to come into the graduate space. This is, again, in competency-based education. We've also, through market analysis, identified that there is no other MA in American Studies program that exists nationally in American Studies. So we feel that that's important in particular for this program. And again, this allows for that next stepping stone from the four-year degree that we're offering in history, as well as any UMS institution, and offers that graduate space.
Questions from the trustees? Please.
I raise my questions reluctantly, as I think President Rice knows. I'm thrilled to see some attention to the humanities here, and especially in the American Studies, which is an important interdisciplinary and very timely degree. That said, I think I'm concerned about how I appreciate the market demand of a changing population, but I think the quality of these degrees has to meet the market and assure that we're meeting the standards. And I guess I'm worried about an American Studies degree that's a non-thesis master's, which I think must be unique in the field, given that it's American Studies. I thought a thesis was sort of mandatory. it says it will be interdisciplinary, but we have 3 faculty listed, 1 in psych, 2 in history, or history and political science, I guess they do both. And where's the literature? Where's the cultural studies? How does this make it a robust American Studies program? Given that we don't, I don't think, have a BA in American Studies.
So I think, am I muted? I can't, no. I think that the interdisciplinary connection happens through the courses or the curriculum. Social media and American culture is one that I think is lending itself to that sort of interdisciplinary lens. Gender and sex in America, oral history. There's one on delivering and interpreting local history, as well as some more, I think, focused historical aspects like Cold War America or the American South. So I think that the interdisciplinary focus was kind of that focus looking through those lenses of both culture, impact of social media, those historical pieces, as well as, I think, from our psychology professor, that was the gender and sex particular course as part of this graduate program.
So the 3 faculty listed versus there'll be more faculty participating
in teaching.
In faculty, but are you using faculty from any other campus?
For this, no. We currently, to develop it, we have not used, or we would not be using people or faculty from other campuses. There is another option, of course, for teaching of the courses that we could look at engaging with faculty from other campuses.
I guess I'm just concerned about it. Well, thank you.
Lisa?
Yeah, I'm not involved in this, but I know my colleagues who have worked very hard on it. And just anecdotally, my understanding is that they did reach out to folks on other campuses about participating in the development, and there was not interest. I just wanted to put that out there. Thanks.
Right.
I would just quickly note that those faculty are either very distinguished in regards to both publication and work with students in their programs. In the case of history, all of them have PhDs. In the case of the psychologist, has taught in graduate programs of a similar nature, including the coursework that he has proposed for this program. So has a history in engaging in such programs at his previous institution. And I would just build upon the provost's comments that this is a program that also has a potential for multiple concentrations from faculty from other institutions. President McDonald and I have already had a discussion about how that could happen with this program.
And have any of those faculty taught in an American Studies program anywhere?
The current faculty from UMPI? No, I don't. Our psychologist might have taught a program that counted in American Studies, correct? But that is a program being established for the first time. And again, the system does not have that program either. So it's not like there are faculty in the University of Maine system teaching in a graduate program in American Studies. So we are breaking curricular ground in this regard in the program.
David, could I add a point there? And I know Chair Riley's already aware of this because she has a background in this field. Typically, American Studies for the other trustees, if you're uninitiated, that typically American Studies programs come out of history programs, cultural studies programs, or less commonly, but also in some cases, English or English Lit programs. So you typically form an American Studies program out of one of those existing programs at your university, and you're naturally drawing from the faculty in the existing program or programs, whatever they happen to be. So in this case, Provost Margison has laid out for you who the faculty are that are active in the relevant fields, and if they were faculty in other fields at UMPI or other fields elsewhere, if this program were developed at a different university in our system, they would more than likely be coming out of whatever those fields are. The American Studies programs then tend to do exactly what Chair Riley was maybe not directly, but indirectly noting earlier, which is broaden and begin to draw from faculty expertise, either through hiring or through partnering in other areas within cultural studies, depending on student interest and faculty interest. And and enrollment growth and all the typical things that you see from a new program developed that is looking to get its footing and grow.
Could I just ask, why no thesis for an MA in American Studies?
We did talk about that, Dr. Zaborny, who's the program leader for our history and political science program. And in talking through with John, he felt that the thesis option would be, I mean, both exist as options. The thesis option, that design, thinking about students who might wish to go onto a PhD program, but also with a non-thesis option, I think two areas of focus, one being that sort of interdisciplinary focus, and that throughout the curriculum, more project-based assessments that made those connections across the disciplines was where he was going with it. So more of the portfolio style than the thesis option. And he mentioned that he had looked closely at the University of Alabama's non-thesis option for the MA in American Studies, not in CBE, but had really liked that as one of the examples. So it was weighed between thesis option, thinking perhaps about that as a PhD aspect. It's something also that could be added, as President Rice mentioned, you know, there are options for this in the future to be flexible for additional concentrations. And I think if it becomes clear that the thesis option would be necessary, that this could also be molded to have that as an option as part of this program as well. You could do thesis or non-thesis, actually.
Other comments or questions? Riley.
This is probably a comment going back to the previous discussion. So if it doesn't get any response, maybe it's just me thinking out loud. As a newer trustee, and I don't want to speak for other newer trustees, it's often difficult when we're doing these program discussions without other trustees jumping in to understand where the Venn diagram of cannibalism is overlapping between universities. So when we were talking about the last education program, obviously I know that Farmington has a robust education program, but other universities also do. And what I'm trying to get at is it doesn't seem like we currently have an existing format for other universities to comment on the programs of their neighborly universities being created. And I wonder, without doing another paperwork burden for the benefit of trustees like myself, is there a way, maybe this is a question for Jeff St. John, is there a way to present, whether it's from your office or from the university that wants the new program, a little one paragraph of these are other programs that would be very similar to our nearby UMS universities, but we don't think it will cannibalize, or we think it will cannibalize this much, without me having to rely on Barbara or someone else bringing it up and saying, hey, this is a risk, because I don't have a rote memorization of every program offered at every university. I don't know if that already exists, if that's a huge paperwork burden.
I can help on both points. So first of all, we absolutely already have a process for soliciting faculty and provost feedback at two levels of engagement, Trustee Worth. The first is the intent to plan, when the program is originally developed and discussed at the level of the provost or the CAOC group. Intent to plan goes out from me through the Faculty Governance Council leadership to all faculty at every university. So all faculty at every university and the provosts at every university have an opportunity to comment on the intent to plan. They then have the same opportunity when the full program proposal has come back, frequently having been adapted in response to that feedback on the intent to plan. We also, relatively recently, and it was a good suggestion from one of our trustees, we have begun going through a list of all comparable existing programs in the system as we look at developing new programs. So at least at the level of the provosts, you have in hand, this is everything else that's offered in this area as you're thinking about developing a new program. We also, with our institutional research group and the provosts, use our online UMS academic program inventory, which contains that same list and from which we draw to develop those lists for provost discussions. So everyone knows at every point what other programs in the same or similar fields exist at every level, from certificate and minor all the way up through PhD. So we have a very well-developed, very rigorous process that has been in place for years to bring forward a maximum amount of information to the trustees at ASA and of course at the full board about every program that we develop. And when we get ideas from the trustees, and we've had several, including from trustees on the screen, for additional forms of information or documentation, we weave them in to the process. Although I will confess that on a couple of occasions I've pushed back if I've thought that the request being made of the provost was so great that we would lose motivation at the level of faculty to actually develop new programs, because we were raising the bar to the point where we would see those programs begin to die in their tracks. So I hope that's helpful by way of background in both areas.
Great.
I remain concerned about the robustness of this program, and the potential for an American Studies program, I think, is great. I recognize that this is a CBE, but I think we really do need to do more thinking system-wide about how to build on the strengths in literature and culture and across the system, if this ever goes beyond CBE.
Got it.
Just a quick response to Jeff, and if this is offline, please email me after so I can better understand. I guess what I was imagining, and maybe this is already happening and it's too much of a burden to get to the trustees, or I'm just not looking in the right place, so just let me know via email if that's helpful, but something to tell me when I am voting on, should we allow this new program, what those opinions were of the faculty or of the provosts, right? Was it, because you said like these discussions are happening between different faculty members at different universities, at different provosts, to see what's being cannibalized and what's not. Is it everyone's kind of in agreement? Are there dissenting voices saying, we shouldn't be allowing this because it is cannibalizing? If those conversations are happening, obviously I don't know what the opinions are. So if, again, like you said, the paperwork burdens. So I don't know. It's just that would be helpful for discussions like the one we had previously, to know what the faculty and what the provosts of other universities are, without having, President McDonald have to get up and say, I approve of this. This doesn't make us, life difficult for us here, or vice versa.
I would say two things. I have brought forward, without naming anyone, summaries of faculty feedback that has come back either for good or for critical reasons before this body in the past for certain programs where faculty feedback has been generated, particularly in cases where there's quite a bit of it. And with respect to the provosts, candidly, programs seldom make it out of CAOC if there isn't already a substantial amount of agreement across the provosts about the validity and the merits of bringing the program forward, because I don't view it as a good use of the trustees' time, the provost's time, or the faculty's time to bring something forward that I don't think can pass muster at the level of this discussion. I hope that helps.
It does. Thank you.
Emily?
Thank you. I think there's an opportunity in conversations like this to sort of remind and refresh all of us about the process that things take to get here. And I'd just like to say, for me, like, I have no interest in seeing the notes from the faculty discussion, unless there's substantive changes that are made along the way that inform the ultimate outcome. But to me, if it's gotten to us, it's come through multi-steps of people that are really smart and much smarter than any of us on this. It's our job to ask hard questions and understand it. But I think there's an opportunity in these conversations to remind us how many steps and how many experts and how many faculty. I mean, this is a key element of shared governance, particularly with faculty to be weighing in on these things. And I think we are lucky to have such competent people at all of these phases along the way. But again, it certainly is a good opportunity to remind and refresh us on all the steps that things do take to get here, which I appreciate. Thank you.
Kelly?
I echo what Trustee Kane said, and I'm very thankful for the process. I'm looking at, on our agenda item summaries. There's an area where it basically says the proposed program represents a multi-university collaboration, may represent, does not represent. Is there room for that to summarize, positively accepted? I don't know what it, I mean, when I look at that, I'm also, that's all encompassing on my decision, how we're going to go forward. Is it, if it's not multi-university, it means that to me, I don't know that, is there something that says it, can we have a checkbox that says it's otherwhere in the system, but it's okay because of XYZ or something like that? Can you explain that checkbox system on every agenda item summary for new programs, and what probably could be added to that? And I'm not looking, I don't want to belabor this, because I have full faith in our process and the people, that work this, the provost, Vice Chancellor St. John, and faculty, everybody that's involved in the process. But is there something that would eliminate all this questioning? And with like 2 sentences, and I know that's like a big ask, but just I'm throwing it out there.
Trustee Martin, thank you. And I mean this very respectfully. I don't know of any step I could take that would eliminate all the questioning. I mean, trustees are here to ask good questions, and they do. But I will go back to the provost and see if there is something we can do to simply add sort of a snapshot of the rationale behind how we ended up where we ended up, if that's helpful to you on the A sheets.
Yeah, I'm not even sure if I wouldn't want to add like a ton more work to this, because there's a lot of paperwork. I trust the system. I'm just shaking my head at at how it seems like we trip up on this often. So, I trust the process, but there's obviously we're tripping over something. So I don't know how. Be some good conversation to be had, I guess.
Thank you.
Barbara.
Well, I think you're hearing a number of trustees in effect want more documentation of the rationale and the way it was explored with other universities. My particular problem with the early childhood issue has to do with what I know to be a robust program at Farmington. But, and so the lack of documentation here about the multi-university analysis is one that I think is something that is resonating here. I don't have a desire to see the minutes of the provost meetings, but I am interested in a discussion of the basis for the recommendation that takes into account what we know is existing and will potentially impact other university programs. So I'm willing to accept the result of that analysis. I need to see it, is my point.
Kelly, you still have your hand up?
So yeah, I accidentally had my hand up, but I just want to know, and this goes through the provost, correct? So
It does.
I don't see where there's an issue, because that's already going through the process, and we have to trust our our experts here, and I just I think that we're just being redundant is what I feel. And my comment was, is there a checkbox that we could say we have a thumbs up from all those that were sitting at the table? That's all I need to know. I mean, I don't want to have to, I trust the system, and I trust the people that are in charge in making the decisions. And it doesn't mean that we can't ask questions. It's just that I just feel that in this committee, when we have these programs come up, that it's always, we always trip up on that and, you know, how do we move forward from this? That's all.
Riley?
My last comment on it. That makes sense, and I'm hearing from other trustees that the trust the system and the data and all that makes sense when Emily and Jeff talk about all the layers it's gone through. I guess since I've been on the board, I've heard from other trustees, from presidents, that one of our bigger existential problems is sometimes cannibalization, sometimes overlapping of programs. And so I guess my confusion, and maybe this is just a topic the board can handle at the retreat, is I trust the process. Obviously, it's going through all these steps. Everyone's agreeing to it. And yet still, at the end of the day, there are trustees and presidents and the overall system that is worried about overlap, Venn diagram, self-cannibalization. So I guess the process sounds great, and I believe it's being vetted by all these people, and I trust the system, as so many others have said. But if at the end of the day, many people are still worried about Venn diagrams, then maybe that's a bigger discussion that has to be had on overlap and cannibalization at the board retreat or something. Because I don't want to, as others said, ask for another, 6 sentences or a checkbox or burden the provost or you, Jeff, with, something else to satisfy my worry when it's maybe a bigger discussion to be had.
Any other comments? Seeing none, I'll read the text of the proposed resolution. That the Academic and Student Affairs Committee forwards this item to the September 14th, 15th, 2025 Board of Trustees meeting for approval of the following resolution. That the Board of Trustees accepts the recommendation of the Academic and Student Affairs Committee and approves the Master of Arts in American Studies at the University of Maine at Presque Isle. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved, do I have second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please take the roll?
Trustee McMahon,
Yes.
trustee Alexander,
Yes.
trustee Cates,
Yes.
trustee Riley. She must not. Trustee Kane,
Yes.
trustee Martin,
Yes.
trustee Worth,
Yes.
trustee Loring.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you for that very robust debate. This is what committee meetings are all about. So the next item on the agenda is something we've all been waiting for, the summer 2025 enrollment report with Jeff St. John.
Thank you, Chair McMahon. I'm happy to be passing along quite a bit of good news to the trustees. Total headcount, as you read right at the top in the highlights of this report, up by 6.1% year over year, and up 15.1% over 4 years ago. Summer 2021 to summer 2025 saw a 15% gain across our system. Total credit hours up 20% year over year, and 48.7% compared to summer 2021. And I would hasten to say two things. CBE has certainly been a driver of growth in each of those areas, but not the only driver. We've seen growth in particular in transfer credit hours, gains made across our system, and in some cases transfer headcount as well. And I will say one important takeaway for the trustees, in my view, is this. Credit hours are up relative to headcount, which means that we're attracting a higher percentage of our students, and in general, a higher percentage of students taking a higher percentage of credits each summer, which can only return a benefit for things like retention, time to degree, and ultimately student success. So what more of our presidents and provosts are doing are attracting new students, but also their continuing students through the summer to take summer courses, to take 3 credits, or in some cases 6 credits of summer courses, to complete those credits. Anytime credit hours are up relative to headcount over the same year-over-year span, you're gaining ground in persistence across time for students. So that's a great measure for us, a great measure of the work being done by faculty and provosts and presidents at each of the universities. Graduate headcount increased 4.1% this summer over summer 2024, and by 13.2% this summer over summer 2021. So again, the credit hour gains and the headcount gains are mirrored on the graduate side over time, both 4-year and 1-year spans. Credit hours for our NEBI programs, you'll hear more about those in a few minutes, up 9.1% year over year. Canadian enrollment up 2.7%, which may seem modest, but in light of the federal environment, we're taking that as a good sign for us right now. Overall, student credit hours, again, up 20.3% in summer 2025 compared to last year. Distance education continues to account for the vast majority of credit hours during summer sessions, 88.75% in summer 2025. I do know that presidents continue to look at ways to bring more students to campus in the summer for camps and other co-curricular activities and low residency programs as well. But it continues to be the case that distance modalities are the driver for summer credit hours. Total summer headcount for your PACE programming, CBE programming, up 38.2% year over year. And additionally, your PACE credit hours, 58.6% growth year over year for CBE programs, summer 24 to summer 25. I would only add to this that we are also seeing a very healthy balance between credit hours generated from full-time students and part-time students, which is another good barometric sign for us about the engagement that the presidents and provosts and faculty are having with their students, both full-time students who are working through the summer to complete degrees in a shorter span, and part-time students who come maybe to Maine during the summer as a summer destination or who are working toward a degree part-time. In this past year, the breakdown between full-time credits and part-time credit earning students, 54.4% to 45.6%. So almost split down the middle, which again is another measure of the health of our overall student population. I think the last thing I wanted to say is to again reinforce that both at Presque Isle, but also at our other campuses, including our law school, we are seeing growth in summertime transfer credit hour generation, summertime credit hour generation in general, and that's a good thing for our system. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that the trustees might have.
Questions for you? Please.
Thank you. It is wonderful news. I was curious, especially in the non-CBE growth. We saw growth, I think, at USM and maybe UMA, some really significant. Is there any sense of what programs students are coming to in the summer? Do we have any sense about what drives those increases?
I would invite anyone on the screen from USM or elsewhere. Again, we've seen growth, Fort Kent and other places as well in summertime programming. Do we have anyone who would be wanting to respond to that specifically?
Okay.
Joe, please.
Just real quick, a lot of times what we found is by offering more courses in the math and sciences where students had to retake classes and things like that, that generally is where we found more opportunities for students to take those classes that they weren't quite successful in. So thanks.
Deborah.
Yeah, thank you. So summer, yes, we've had great growth during our summer programs, and it's definitely in nursing and the Masters of Science in Nursing.
Any other comments on the location? Roger?
Thank you. First of all, I really wanted to thank Jeff for this report and the depth of this report. This is far more comprehensive than any enrollment report I think we've seen in the past, and it's really, really helpful. I mean, it slices and dices in ways which are really interesting for us to see. So I did have a couple of questions, if I could. First, again, great report in terms of the numbers. They're up, and this is very healthy. The one area where there seemed to be a bit of a decrease was in out-of-state participation. Do you have any sense of why that is? Is it just increasing competition from some of our out-of-state universities and competitors that are doing a better job in catching up with us a little bit here?
We actually, well, that's certainly a factor, Trustee Cates, but we also believe that the general economic uncertainty is causing some full-time students to concentrate more on the fall and spring semesters, both in terms of paying for college, but also the work they do as students. We do have a high percentage of students who either go home during the summer out of state to get full-time summer jobs, and we have students from elsewhere in the region, if I exclude our Your Pace population, who are also typically working those jobs and not focusing so much on our programs during the summer. But it's a continuous target for admissions and recruitment staff at our universities, and also for the provost in thinking about how to attract more students from out of state during the summer.
Thanks. And the other thing which was really fascinating thing to look at, and I think we talked a little bit about it in the past, is the gender differences here, and they are so pronounced. It's really extraordinary. I think the chart on page 145, I think our total head count for the summer enrollment was something like 60% female and 37% male. And that's just that, and I know there's been a gender gap before, but that's just so incredibly stark. And that's true nationally, I guess, as well, although I'm not sure in that much of a way. And this isn't really a question, but I assume that we're taking a look at that gap and trying to figure out ways to get more males into our university system in general. The one area it seemed that we actually do better there, I think I read this right, was in Your Pace, where actually there are more men than women involved. So I don't know what lessons there are to be learned there, but it's a real area for growth potentially for us and everybody else in the country, I guess.
I would defer to Provost Margison for comments about the attractiveness of Your Pace programming, but I will say in general, the answers to your questions are yes and yes. We are looking at it, Trustee Cates, and we are trying to figure out how to respond to it. And you're also right to say it's a national and growing problem in higher education. Every couple of weeks now, you'll see an article about the disappearance of the American male in higher education, and what can we do about it to attract more male students to our programs. We are working on it.
Yeah, I don't know if UMPI did have any comments about why their numbers are so different in Your Pace.
They are actually, I mean, historically looking back to spring of 23, it's somewhere between, it's slightly more for male, about 50, 51%, 47, 48 female, but it's been almost equal. From working with students and with our Your Pace team, what we hear often is that it's the modality works for people, especially who are working adults. It's the flexibility. And I think that really is something that's really desirable for, learners of all demographics. And so specifically, while we don't have data on, why male versus female, I would say that the modality and the flexibility, ability to apply previous experience and affordability are all certainly factors.
Thank you.
Other questions for, just one further word, quality report, but also a very timely report. I am very, very impressed, and I think thanks are due to Jeff's IR team.
Yeah, it wasn't me. That was my next comment. Halaru Omason, who's one of our senior planning analysts in UMS Institutional Research, he's on the call right now to speak in a few minutes about the survey, tab 12, the surveys we did. Halaru expressed great alarm that one of you might call on him. So my job is to help deflect any questions from trustees, intercept them and answer them. But Halaru is both modest and extremely talented and did a great job putting this report together. So all credit where it's due.
Thank you. And the next item on the agenda is from Jeff, sort of tutorial on the NEVI tuition rate.
Thank you, and I'll keep this brief. This came in as a request at the last board meeting from Trustee Cates, who had asked for a short presentation. What is the NEVI program that we're always talking about? Well, he knows, but give us a little bit of an overview of it. So this is a compact among the 6 New England states. It's been around for 70 years now, essentially. And I know you all read the bullets yourselves, so I'll be careful not to read the slide, but you understand the basic premise. We have students who join us from out of state to enroll in programs offered by universities in our system that are not offered in their home states. Our NEBI enrollment as a percentage of our total full-time enrollment across UMS is 3.7%. So it's not a negligible number of students who come from out of state each year to enroll in one of our programs. And just briefly, in addition to the overview page that Jamie Ballinger prepared for this presentation, I'll share with you off that next slide briefly. You have the total number of students, where they're headed, undergraduate and graduate program. Just a couple of examples for you. So actuarial science, President McDonnell University of Maine at Farmington offer the only actuarial science program in our system. We do have students coming out of states take that program because it's not offered in their home state. And then in particular, in some research areas, forestry, wildlife ecology, marine biology at the University of Maine. These are programs that are not offered globally across New England. Marine biology, wildlife ecology, both draw students from all over the place. My own son is a wildlife ecology student at Orono, and he has friends in his cohort from all over the country and certainly all over New England. And then I'll note other programs like criminology at USM. It offers a different orientation toward criminal justice than a straight criminal justice program, and for that reason, unique within our system and attract students from out of state. So the question I know trustees will ask is, do we see consistent enrollment in NEBI programs year over year? The answer is no. There's a wide degree of variability in the number of students who enroll in our NEBI programs. And that in part is because every state is trying to shore up its own programming to reduce the number of its students it loses to other New England states. So typically, I'm just hypothetical example, President Cushman and Provost Zakis developed some new program that's unique to UMS, and students from, I'm making this up, Connecticut, I don't want to offend the chancellor, but let's say Connecticut, start to enroll in this program. Joe will be happy for 2 or 3 years, and then Joe will begin to frown because Connecticut will develop the corresponding program and begin luring its students back, and maybe even siphon off a few Mainers. And that is the nature of the NEBI compact. Everyone is playing by the same rules. And so with a lot of very smart provosts and presidents out there, you're going to see fluctuations over time, and that's how that operates.
Questions again? Seeing none. Jeff, you're up again with the work plan.
Thank you very much. This is a work plan item coming from my office, Multi-University Programs Report. 2 very quick notes about this. We did ask the trustees at the June ASA to share any comments with us about the proposed 25-26 work plan by the August ASA. Trustee McMahon and I have received no comments from anyone, barring any right now. With all due respect, we plan to move forward. I do need to answer to Beth Stickler in the board office and tell her that our plan has been finalized and is official for the coming year. So please speak now or politely hold your peace on the work plan for 2025-26. Hearing none, thank you. And then secondly, one note about this. I've had 2 good conversations in the last couple of weeks with the faculty across our system who are part of the Tourism, Hospitality, and Outdoor Recreation group, the THOR faculty. And I'm pleased to say it does look like they are moving in the direction of developing a THOR degree program in the coming academic year. I'm not holding them to that here. I'm just giving an update on the conversations I've had with them. And I wanted to just add that to the presentation that Jamie Ballinger is about to share. So Jamie, please.
Thank you, Jeff. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much. So aligning with several of our strategic initiative goals, once a year, we do report out on those multi-university initiatives. That report appears in your packet. I'm just here to give you a few of the highlights from that report. Number one, we have seen tremendous success with cross-linking courses. Right now, there are about 1,700, a little over 1,700 courses that have been cross-linked across our universities. That means that students in those programs are being able to take advantage of courses offered at campuses apart from their home campus. It allows them to take courses in everything from early college education to criminal justice that's not being offered for them at their campus. As Jeff mentioned, we are also working with a number of multi-university academic programs. The Thor program is a great example of that, and the minor has been chugging along for the last year. We do have enrollments in the minor, and the potentially pulling together a major will also supplement that program. But in addition, we also have some great partnerships between UMA and UMF for nursing to allow students at the University of Maine at Farmington to take advantage of the great offerings at UMA. We have programs in that you just approved this morning, for example, in medical laboratory sciences between UMPI and UMA, where our students will be able to take advantage of the offerings at both campuses. In addition to that, we have some larger initiatives that take place that aren't specifically academic programs. And those are things like direct admissions and the Transfer Maine program. So direct admissions is in year 3 now of its operation. So we had a pilot year, and then last year was our very first full year of operations. And now we are expanding that program out. That has had a huge effect for thousands of students here in the state of Maine to allow them to get admissions to our universities without ever formally applying. We know that the application process itself is a huge barrier, and that has brought together the skills and resources, not just of academic programs, faculty, staff, administrators, DOE members, superintendents. People all across the state are trying to make this work for the state of Maine. Similarly, we have the Transfer Maine program with our community colleges here in the state, which had their first year this last year, and that was our pilot year. So we're still working out a few of the kinks, but that will be rolling out again for our community college students here this fall. We work with the Maine Communities Colleges almost every day to try to help the students who are wrapping up their associate's degree seamlessly move into their bachelor's degree here at UMS. Ultimately, these are foundational steps for UMS to create these multi-university initiatives. We continue to review them every day. We continue to look at new opportunities, and hopefully we'll continue to develop more here over the next weeks, months, and years. Thank you.
Questions again, Roger?
You're on mute, Roger.
Thank you. Sorry. Jamie, thank you. Thank you for your report and for the written report too. Could you talk a little bit about the relationship between the number 1,700, which I guess is the course registration so far that are cross-link courses, and the development of the unified catalog? Is it the intent that once we've got the unified catalog in place that 1,700 number is going to grow considerably, or what's the relationship between a cross-link course and the student's ability to access more courses through the unified catalog? If you could.
Jamie, I'm happy to take that one. And I'll take it by dodging it, Trustee Kate. So Robert Placido is by far better positioned than Jamie or I am to answer that question. Robert is very helpfully will be offering a demo for faculty at each of our universities in the fall semester to come and see from either from himself or from a member of his IT team how the unified catalog, particularly the new course search, works and then answer questions about its implications for everything from registration to the back office stuff like cross-linking that Jamie was referring to. So I very much don't want to give a wrong answer to your good question. So I'll get you the answer from Robert, but I do want you to know that there's a education plan in place for helping faculty understand what's now possible within the updated, vastly improved catalog space.
Great, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Robert, go ahead.
Thanks. This is a very helpful report. It would be helpful from the board's perspective, or at least my perspective on the board, to acknowledge the barriers that have traditionally existed and the ongoing efforts to address those barriers. In other words, giving us a very positive report is understandably desirable on your part, but what I want to know is, what are the problems? What are we facing to encourage this? What are we doing to address these internally? So if you could have that in mind with regard to communicating with us in the future on this, I'd appreciate it.
I'd be happy to, Trustee Alexander. We can share with you not only ongoing problems, but the several hundred problems that we eliminated during the unified catalog work, both on the non-technical and technical sides of this colossal challenge. So absolutely.
And I meant by that, going to section B, the future of these initiatives. This is a very vague statement, and it would be helpful to know what the ongoing process is to address these issues in multi-university collaborations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions of Jamie or Jeff on this one? Seeing none, Jeff, you're up for the next item.
Thank you, Trustee McMahon. So this is a strategic plan update for the trustees, first year and graduating students pilot surveys with two goals in the 2023-2028 plan. One goal to survey all first year students at the end of their second semester. We changed that with the board's input midstream and decided to survey them at the end of their first semester, after a number of our assessment professionals pointed out that if they left at the end of their first semester, we would never get any information about why, because they'd be gone. So we surveyed them last fall of 24, and then again in the spring of 25 offered a survey to graduating undergraduates. Part of the reason this is called a pilot is because the board's actual charge in that second item was to survey all graduating students, including graduate students and law students. So having figured out the process and logistics the first time around, we will be expanding in 2025, 2026 to survey all graduating students, and we will again be surveying undergraduate students at the end of their first semester with us. Two of the architects for the work here are with us. Deb Allen, who's the Assistant Provost for Institutional Research and Assessment at the University of Maine at Machias, and the aforementioned Halaru Omason, who ran all the data for us on the first two pilot surveys, are here on the screen. I'd be happy to, in addition to answering any questions you have about the basic takeaways that we've shared, offer in particular Deb and Halaru's perspective on anything they've seen in the course of doing this work. So trustees, if you have questions, great. And otherwise, or in addition to that, I'll also turn to Deb and Halaru.
Right, Riley, go on.
A bunch of questions. I think I'll start broad and then go narrow. Overall response rate, and do we also know the overall GPA of students that responded?
Overall response rates were low, particularly for graduating seniors. And candidly, Riley, that's a function of doing this for the first time. A couple of the campuses in the spring were able to get their surveys out several weeks in advance of graduation and had comparatively higher response rates. A couple of campuses were really rolling this out the last week of classes and had relatively lower response rates. We expected that. The goal for the first year was just to get it up and running in both cases. And I'd have to ask Deb and Halaru whether we asked about GPA in either of these surveys.
My rationale behind that, and maybe it's food for thought for, which I think is a great idea, doing these going forward, is just with other surveys I've seen worry of selection bias, right? Just the types of students. I mean, that's standard analytical data, so I'm sure everyone's aware, but just that was one of my thoughts. Another question was defining, although granted that we had, low response rates, take this with a grain of salt, it's the first year. What does most mean for the positive experiences, strong peer connections, high student satisfaction for both first year and graduate students? I see most.
It means a simple majority of those who responded.
Okay. Yeah, I think I have more, but I'll let Barbara go.
Barbara?
Yes, I would appreciate a bit more statistical analytical results provided to us, not to suggest that you're not on the right path with regard to doing this, but let me ask are you offering this survey online on their phones?
Deb, Halaru, can you help walk through the way in which the survey was administered?
Sure, I can speak to how it was administered. Yes, it is an online survey. Most campuses, so the way the first year, and actually both surveys were sent out through email, through links. The first year survey, we had common questions across each of the campuses. Each campus stood their survey up and developed it in Qualtrics and then administered it on their own. So the survey was sent out by whoever was more familiar with the students. So it was not sent out centrally from the University of Maine system. It was sent out on each campus. I believe typically from the provost. And similarly, the exit survey, the graduating survey, that was actually done in Simplicity. I do want to say, so Simplicity is our system that the career centers use. We actually have what we call the first destination survey, where we already we do survey graduating students through our first destination process every year as a system. We do the survey, it's more of a process. So we survey students at graduation, then we survey them again in the fall, throughout the fall. We actually do phone campaigns and we actually collect LinkedIn information as well. So this first survey that was done at graduation is part of that. It's kind of the kickoff to that process. So, but it was sent through email, and the subsequent survey will be sent through email as well. But then we will have a calling campaign in the fall. So we will have more information on the graduates at the end of that whole process. Usually we have information on over 50%.
That's very helpful. And this is the kind of survey that is triggering people who had a problem or a concern or weren't completely satisfied to provide this input. I mean, that's the reason you do these. I'm not real concerned about the percentages as I am. So this is telling us something. And I would like to, at some point, so the system needs to think about what this survey is telling us. And there's some what you call areas for improvement noted here that I think needs more in the way of reaction by the system and internal discussion about how these red flags might be important. The quality of the online programs sparked my interest in particular, and other things. So these numbers are important, but what comes next, I think, is even more important. Thank you.
Riley?
Yeah, going back to a similar line, more specific questions, I think, because from my perspective, this is kind of the whole ballgame, I guess. Before I ask those, is there something that would prevent the raw data of every question asked, every percentage returned from the survey from being shared with the trustees?
Deb, wearing your IRB hat, could you offer a provisional response to that question?
The anonymous the first year survey is anonymous, and so it was not it wasn't considered research under IRB. So it's a possibility for that one. The second one, the simplicity survey, that actually is covered by IRB. So which means it's part of our, because it's used also for research related to UMS transforms. Those data are not really shareable at that level. We can share aggregated. We could share an item and then how many people responded to each item. We just can't share like the row level. But if that's what you mean, then yes. But we just can't
that's
share
what
row
I mean.
level.
Yeah, I took the survey myself, so I knew there were obviously more questions that are on this screen here, and so I'd love to see the specific response, like as you say, aggregate, right? This percentage of total students responded this way to that. I think would be great because, and I'm making an assumption here because I don't know what the response rate was, and most could mean a simple majority. If our response rate in the coming years gets up and it's high, and our response rate for positive overall experience is 56%, that seems like a problem to me, right? If our area of opportunity, right, the individual courses for overall skill development, granted, first semester, 25% contributed very little or some to their overall skill development. What's the reverse side of that question? What is the percentage that said all of their courses or most of their courses contributed very much? Is it 15%? Is it 10? Is it, even if it's 50? That means half of our students don't feel. So I guess that's where I'd love the data because I don't want to assume the worst. And obviously I want to take it all with a grain of salt given the low response rates and the rollout of this. But having each of those on a question by question basis, I think would be great to bring so we can have a discussion about this at the next in-person board meeting, whenever it's scheduled for, because I think even if it's a low response rate, this could be very telling for different areas where students are telling us this isn't working and I'm not feeling supported here. This is not helping my education. I don't feel like this is worth it. And I know I obviously gave plenty of feedback myself in my own survey that I'd love to see more details on.
Just one comment, even public utilities who are monopolies get 78 to 82% satisfaction rate when they do surveys like this, because most people just get their bill and pay it. But we need to know a bit more about what's going on here, I think, and I support Riley's proposal.
Jeff, are you any further comments?
It won't be difficult to pull that together. And I warned Halaru, if he made the mistake of joining the call, he could leave with additional work. So he's here, he's still smiling, and I'll talk to him about a way to get that together. Although I would also caution all the trustees, again, brand new survey being offered for the first time with very little context in advance, and we have a number of other established surveys, as Deb alluded to. There is such a thing as survey fatigue among our students, and response rates in general to surveys offered across the system are low. So I'll put all that together and make sure that you have both the raw de-identified data, but also some context for your review of it. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you to the participants in the management of the survey. An excellent first cut of this. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the update on the student code of conduct. Jeff?
Thank you. Thank you, Trustee McMahon. So Board Policy 501 calls for the regular updating of the system-wide UMS Student Conduct Code. When major changes are made to the code, there's a formal process that runs through the chancellor and the board. When only minor changes are made to the code, typically we bring it forward as an informational item for the trustees at ASA. In this last round, led by Joy Pulsifer, who I'll introduce in just a minute, the group that worked on this made a series of minor changes in various places within the code, but no major changes to structure, format, process of the student code. So we bring it forward today informationally. Joy Pulsifer joined us last December of 2024, as our new system-wide senior coordinator of student conduct. She worked for many years at USM and then went to the Midwest and then came back to Maine at St. Joe's, from which I am pleased to say we stole her. And Joy has done phenomenal work in a very short time of bringing together the campus conduct officers, leading the case process for students who are going through conduct or appealing a conduct ruling, and really has galvanized that group and done some good work in a short period of time, including having arrived at a time when an update to the student conduct code was coming due. So partnering with several people in equal opportunity and HR and general counsel's office and faculty and others across the campuses, Joy has really done a great job in a short period of time, is what I'm trying to say. So with that, I'm going to ask Joy to say a few words about the work done to update the student conduct code.
Great. Thank you, Jeff. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to share our updates to the UMS Student Conduct Code. As Jeff shared with you, every 2 years, we assemble a work group of stakeholders across the system to do a line-by-line review of the code. Doing so helps ensure that the code is current with evolving standards and institutional needs. Our work and review of over the past year was also benefited from many parties who provided input from each institution. You received a red line copy with the results of our work and a clean copy version of the 2025 code in tab 13. The 2025 code introduces revised definitions, strengthens our resolution processes, and updates key violation types. Some of those highlights are covered here on this last slide. Jeff, would you like me to go into any more detail, or I can take questions?
I think the trustees do a great job of reading the materials we give them, Joy. So I think we could move to questions about any of the areas of minor updates that you and the group made.
Great.
Robin.
Thank you. I am concerned that some of the changes are called minor, and I'm wondering why you think changing the definition of discrimination and some of the enforcement mechanisms would be considered minor. What exactly would be a substantive or major change? And so that's my first concern, is what is the line between your assumptions about minor, major? And the second one is, and this is my lack of understanding, if Jeff could outline all the different ways in which we have codes called for in our policies, I would help me understand what this one is, as opposed to some of the others I've seen referenced with regard to academic codes or policies. Thank you.
I can take a first shot at both of those, Trustee Alexander. So every time we update the student conduct code, we are reflecting changes to nomenclature, both within our system, within our region, and nationally, around how student conduct is perceived and adjudicated, the process involved. So there are a number of typological changes to the names of things or the way processes are characterized or described. We also, of course, are updating based on any minor changes to staffing or structure at each of the universities, which is incumbent upon us. So we're giving students a clean read of how the process works in every case. I will tell you, not to bore the trustees on this point, but I went to Joy repeatedly during the process. Joy came to me repeatedly during the process. We asked everyone involved in the conduct process update, are we making minor changes, or are we making major changes, or are we making any combination of minor and major changes? Because, to Trustee Alexander's good point, as I explained at the top, if there are major changes, it triggers a different process. We determined in our reading of multiple drafts, Joy, everyone involved in the group, and me, and General Counsel's office, and people in EO, and people in HR, that we were making minor changes across the board to the code. So that, I hope that helps answer that question. As for your second question, which is a very good one. So we have a system-wide student conduct code that involves a system-wide process for handling student conduct. We also have an academic integrity process at each of our universities, and there's an appeal process at each of the universities. The academic processes are localized to the universities, but they typically, for an academic appeal, especially a grade appeal, it starts and ends with the instructor of record. And then there are other kinds of academic processes also that involve plagiarism cases and other cases of that nature. For conduct cases that are non-academic, there is a system-wide process, a group that deals with that process, and Joy is the system point for that work. So academic, there are standards that are universal, but there are practices that are localized. On the student conduct side, it's much more aligned as it needs to be for federal and state reasons and across the board for our students. And Trustee Alexander, I hope that helps explain the basic lanes.
I'm going to rely on you all to make this distinction, but can you assure me that none of these changes run afoul of the Maine Human Rights Act?
No, this code gets vetted all the way through Eamon Purinton and Lisa Landry in General Counsel's office, along with our EO lead, our HR lead. I read it, Joy reads it. There is quite a bit of time that goes to ensure that we are compliant in every area.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Roger.
Thank you, Joy. Thank you. I didn't see anything in here at all about the rules of the road, so to speak, with respect to campus demonstrations and political rallies and things of that nature. I know that each campus, or at least I think each campus, has its own policies in that regard. So am I to assume that it's all handled campus by campus and there is no system-wide set of rules with respect to demonstrations and the occupying of property and things of that nature?
So I want to be careful here because a president might weigh in and say, I've got it partly wrong, which could be the case. But typically, Roger, policies of that nature are housed in the student handbook, which at our universities can be separate from the standalone system-wide student conduct code. And in some cases, presidents have policies or a set of policies that appear on their websites or on the provost website or both. So they're not of a piece, those two types of policy.
Okay. I guess my only concern is, and again, I'm thinking back to my own experience of many, many years ago with student demonstrations, when the major complaint was that the student didn't understand as he or she began to engage in some conduct, that it was going to have potentially certain specific consequences. So as long as there is a way that we can assure ourselves that students know what the rules are before they decide to engage in conduct, that's fine.
Thank you.
President Suffling, please.
Thank you. I think that Jeff's responses to Roger have addressed my questions. we spent quite a bit of time on 212, the university's policy around free speech, academic freedom, and I think Roger's questions are good ones. Both the laws and policies on those kinds of issues run through the university's own policies, the student code of conduct, the separate codes. If Eamon's office has been involved in the language and the definitions all the way along, then I'm going to assume those are consistent and are up to date with regard to some of the language that we agonized over in 211 and 212. And so I think that answers my question. I just wanted to make sure we were all clear on that.
Thank you. Other questions or comments? If not, Joy, thank you very much. And the next item on the agenda is in executive session. It is not anticipated that there will be any discussion after the executive session. So people are aware of that. And I would like to thank all the participants in today's meeting. And could I have a motion for the meeting to go into executive session under the provisions of 1 MRSA section 405(6)(a) to discuss the evaluation of personnel, consideration, discussion of appointments, evaluations, employment and duties.
So moved.
Moved with a second. Seconded. Any discussion? Will the clerk please take the roll?
Trustee McMahon,
Yes.
trustee Alexander,
Yes.
trustee Cates,
Yes.
trustee Riley, trustee Kane,
Yes.
trustee Martin,
Yes.
trustee Worth,
Yes.
trustee Loring.
Yes.
I will move you into executive session.
Okay, the meeting is hereby adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for your attention and very, very good questions this morning. Have a great rest of your day.
You too,
Take
thank you.
care.